Seatrek, the story of Odysseus and his travels. In this myth, the Greek warrior Odysseus and a boatload of soldiers set out to sail home after their long years of fighting in distant Troy. Along the way, they make several unplanned pit stops at islands with one-eyed giants who enjoy human snacks, for example. It will take wits, wisdom, and more than a little help from some god friends to pull off this odyssey.
Long ago, a soldier named Odysseus helped the Greeks defeat their enemies, the Trojans, in a long and bloody war.
During the days of celebrating that followed, though, the Greeks completely forgot to thank their gods for bringing them victory.
And believe me, we gods get angry when you humans don't say thank you. To punish the Greeks, the gods sent confusing winds that blew the Greeks' ship off course as they made their long voyage home.
Some Greeks had to wrestle with gods before they were allowed home. Others simply met a watery fate.
Even Odysseus, whose clever ways I have always loved, was given a hard time. Though I helped the man whenever I could, he had to fight his own battles to get home to his wife and his son.
I composed an epic story called the Odyssey about Odysseus' struggle to get home again. It's a big story, but with the help of Athena, I'll tell you a little bit of it. After leaving the wrecked city of Troy, Odysseus and his crew set sail for Greece. But the gods' ill winds drove them first to the island of Ismarus, where residents were fierce fighters who hated strangers.
Captain, I see land and a city.
We're starving. We haven't eaten since we left Troy, and we've run out of wine. We've got to go ashore.
No, let's try to keep heading for home.
Captain, if you tell us no, don't be surprised if we mutiny and go there anyway. Then you'll have to row home by yourself.
Yeah, and what are you afraid of? If we can beat the Trojans, we can handle anything that comes our way.
All right, we'll go ashore, but make it quick.
When the Greeks landed, they defeated the island's warriors right on the beach, though one or two of the island soldiers escaped and ran into the thick forest nearby. Then they began to feast on some goats and wine they found at hand.
Hey, this wine's strong. One sip practically knocked me off my feet. Too bad there's only a few gallons for each of us. Ha ha. Captain, why aren't you drinking and celebrating?
This is no time for a party. Those warriors who got away could have gone for help. We could be attacked at any moment.
Odysseus was right. Any army of warriors had already surrounded the feasting soldiers. With a shout, they attacked.
The Greeks were caught off guard, but Odysseus organized a brilliant retreat. He and his men made it back to their ship, though many lives were lost.
As the Greeks mourned their dead comrades, Odysseus warned the crew.
We lost more soldiers just now on Ismarus than we did in Troy. We can't afford to be careless. I hope I can keep them in a little line until we get home.
For 9 days, the sea and the wind became mysteriously calm.
The men rowed, but they seemed to get nowhere. Supplies were again running low.
But then, a powerful current brought them to an island that looked peaceful.
What can happen to us there, Captain? We've got to go to shore for more water, or we'll die of thirst.
Listen to me. This time, we're going to send a search party to explore the island first. They can tell us if it's safe. You two, go with him and see if the islanders here are peaceful. Be back before sunset.
Aye, aye, Captain.
When the soldiers went inland, they found themselves lost in a deep forest. Suddenly, they stumbled into a clearing.
Before them, they saw a cave covered with vines. Outside the cave burned a fire of sweet-smelling wood. They saw a beautiful woman weaving and singing.
But the strangest thing of all was that around the cave lay wild animals, lions and wolves, that acted just like house cats and puppy dogs. The women called to the men.
Welcome, you weary travelers. I can see you had a hard voyage. My home is your home.
She led the men to beautiful thrones inside the cave and sat them before a table covered with jugs of wine, wheels of cheese, barleys of cakes and honey. The half-starved men feasted and feasted.
Are you comfortable now?
Oh yes, I'm afraid we've made pigs of ourselves.
What an interesting choice of words.
At that moment, Circe raised a magic wand and uttered a strange spell. In a flash, the men lost their human features and began growing snouts and tails. They had been turned into pigs. Circe herded them into a pig pen, where they squealed in vain for help.
Only one of the Greek scouts remained in human form. He hadn't liked what he saw when they arrived at the cave and had hidden himself in nearby trees to see what would happen. Shocked by what he saw, he now ran back to the ship to tell Odysseus about the disaster.
I need the gods. Help, now!
In answer to that prayer, the messenger god Hermes brought down a word of advice from Mount Olympus.
Take this plant and eat it. It will protect you from the witch's charms. But you must face her yourself if you want to free your companions.
So Odysseus started the difficult hike through the island forest, clutching his special gift from Hermes all the while. At last he reached the witch's cave. It was hard to miss, with its big pen of squealing and grunting pigs.
I'm looking for a group of men that passed through this area this morning. Have you seen them?
I don't believe so, but I have some food and something to drink, and maybe I'll remember.
Circe took Odysseus into the same table that was set with yet another feast. When he had eaten and drunk, the witch smiled and raised her wand.
Now, into the pen with you. You'll be the head pig.
But Odysseus, still a man, pulled out his sword and shouted,
No more tricks! You see, the gods are on my side. Now turn my men back to the way they were, and be quick about it.
And so she did. Not long afterwards, Odysseus and his men shoved off from the frightening island and set sail for home once again.
The ship sailed on one for a day or two, but then a thick fog covered the great sea. The crew members couldn't see each other. All alone where they were going, their luck seemed to be going from bad to worse.
Just when a little gust of wind blew a tiny window into the fog, a lookout shouted that the ship was about to run aground. The men stopped rowing. A few feet ahead of them was a beautiful green island. High above them, on some kind of cliff, they could hear a waterfall. Here and there, they spotted goats and other animals.
How beautiful! The gods must have brought us here to make up for our bad luck in the past.
Everyone agreed the gods were finally on their side again, or so they thought. Carefully, the crew got out and hunted some wild goats. They cooked up a meal and were pleased to be left in peace.
Before we leave, I'd like to know who lives on this island. I'll take some men with me and do a little exploring.
This time, Odysseus' curiosity got the better of him. Before setting out, though, something told him that he should pack a few jugs of the strong wine he had gotten on Isthmus. It was an advice he would thank the gods for.
Odysseus and his men discovered a huge cave. A boulder lay next to the entrance. Inside the cave were pens where goats and sheep were kept. Whoever lived there made cheese from the animals' milk. Captain, haven't we seen enough? Why don't we take some goats and some cheese for our journey? We can leave this wine as payment and be on our way.
Not so fast. Look at that huge fire. Look at that chair. Whoever lives in this cave must be a giant. I've never seen a giant. Let's stay and get a look at him, so we'll have some good stories to tell the kids when we get home.
As they were speaking, they heard a rumble of footsteps. Quickly, they ran to the back of the cave.
Now, don't be rude.